Out. And we'll get started in half a second for everybody. So welcome. And what we're talking to today is Michael DeLon. How do I say your last name properly? I don't want to butcher it 22 times.
Yeah, Stephen, it's DeLon, like you're going to go outside and mow. DeLon.
There you go. There you go. That's not a very Arkansas last name.
It's not. It's not. It's kind of French. I think, honestly, I'm related to Ponce de Leon, but somewhere in the genealogy, somebody dropped one of the letters. So
there you go. There you go. Strangely, my only famous relative that I know of was Barack Obama, because his mother was from Arkansas as well. So it's an interesting lineage there. But hey, let's get started here. You are the paperback expert, and you know, for financial advisors, and I got to tell you, Michael, about a conversation I had. God, it all runs together. I think it was Monday, and it's a fairly successful financial advisor who's been talked into twice doing 2 paperback books, and has done exactly nothing with them.
Oh, no.
With them is the word I was looking for, and really is, other than like helping him write the book and helping him get it published, and he doesn't even know how to get copies of his own book at this point. He had no idea what to do with it. And there's several obvious points of conversation here. One is why every financial advisor needs one. Number 2 is what they should do once they get it. My focus tends to be on credibility plus referrals. But start with your background. How did you end up in this interesting little niche here?
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that. I'll give you my whole story in about 3 minutes, so listen fast, okay? My wife and I got married in 1990. We were first 5 years of our marriage were like this. We are complete opposites. Still are today. Been married 33 years. And after 5 years of conflict, we went to a marriage conference by a ministry called Family Life, part of Campus Crusade for Christ, and sat in a ballroom with 1,000 people as they unpacked God's blueprints for marriage. I didn't know he had any. So we grabbed his blueprints, started applying them to our marriage. Our marriage got better. That was the 90s. We had 2 kids in that time period. I was working for Christian radio at that time, selling Christian radio advertising. And I'd come out to you, Steve, and try to sell you advertising. I learned after 2 years of doing that, nobody wants to buy Christian radio. They want to sell their products and services.
Sure.
So I had a decision to make. I had to either become really good at selling or really good at marketing. So I chose marketing. I bought the books, went to the conferences, followed the gurus, learned how to do marketing for small business owners. So my business grew through the 90s as my clients' business would grow. At the end of 1990, the 90s, God led me out of the radio world into a startup.com back when Amazon was just getting started. Remember William Shatner on the radio?
Yep.
That's when I was selling websites and banner ads to car dealerships in the town that they didn't even have an internet. They didn't know what it was, right? So that company, Steve, was ahead of its time. That means it went bankrupt. So 2 years later, I'm standing in my living room in my house going, God, what am I supposed to do? And he said, Michael, I want you in a ministry to marriages. I want you at Family Life, that ministry that changed our life. So we raised support as missionaries for 2 years, moved from Indiana down to Little Rock, Arkansas to serve with Family Life. I landed there. They put me in the radio department. I thought I hit nirvana. Why would I ever do anything else but help people, build a strong marriage like we had? And so that lasted for about 10 years. I climbed the corporate ladder. I was on the leadership team. They started going through corporate reorganizations. 3rd reorg chart was rolled out. My name was no longer on the leadership team. They started shuffling me around the ministry. That was the beginning of a 2-year prison term for me. A prison term meaning I was in a job I hated.
Right.
Right. After 2 years, I said, God, I got to get out of this place. He's like, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go help small business owners with marketing because they struggle with it. And I love it. Yeah. And he said, go. So on January 1st of 2013, I escaped from prison. I started a marketing consulting firm. I'd come out and talk to you and say, Steve, I can help you grow your business. You'd meet with me. We'd have a great conversation. You'd say, Michael, what have you done in the last few years? Who have you helped? I say, well, help build marriages and families at Family Life. And you say, Michael, that's honorable. Way to go. Oh, look at the time. I've got another meeting coming up. Let's reschedule. And you'd usher me out the door. I wasn't getting any clients. And I knew I had to fix that. So I went back to my church. I paced the hallways one day crying out to God saying, God, how do I help Steve? Because I know I can. God gave me the idea, Steve, to take all of my marketing strategies and put them in a book. And so I did. I published my first book on marketing back in 2013. Then I'd call you. I'd mail a copy of my book to you. I'd walk into your office a week later, and there it was. My book was on your desk, dog-eared, highlighted, underlined. You'd read my book. And in that meeting, you'd say, now, Michael, in your book, you said, how do you help me do that? And you'd hire me. I started gaining clients and I thought, whew, why don't more business owners do this?
Yeah.
So I went back to my church, built a spreadsheet, listed every single step it takes to create a book, and we eliminated every step in the process. And that planted the seed. What's today is Paperback Expert, where we work with financial advisors and experts to create a book without writing a word. Then we teach them, Steve, how to use their book in their marketing to gain clients, get referrals, and grow their revenue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, well, you saved us 40 minutes there just by speed of execution. And God help anybody who's listening to this podcast at triple speed or one thing or another. But that's great, Michael. You buried a couple of things in there already as far as lessons that they should take away. And it is interesting though on the ministry side. My close associate, who's kind of the adopted sister, who's now working for me full time, Mindy. She's got her. She was with Youth Specialties forever, and got her master's in divinity at Vanderbilt, and it has worked in Christian publishing for years and years with not just Youth Specialties, another company. It'll come to mind here in a second. You probably know them right away, and the principles that apply to people who are good at building a ministry are really the same principles that apply to a sincere and honest and dedicated financial advisor or any professional, because it all has to start with mission. It has to start with that overriding purpose, and it's but you gotta explain it to them. They don't get it otherwise, right? There's a lot more to it than that. Let's start with and I don't know how many advisors I've told now that they need a book, and I'll all the objections, so I'll tell you the objections. Objection number one is, oh my God, I could never sit down and write that. That takes too long, right?
Right.
And then as I mentioned before, I've got some clients who wrote the book, even in some cases somebody else did it for them, but then whoever they worked with didn't have any sense of it's how they use as a marketing tool. They just, the product they produce. This is our mutual friend Dan Caprell's. But they just gave them this and said run with it, and didn't tell them what to do with it. So let's start with the first part. How do they write a book without writing a book?
Yeah, that's great. We created a what we call a speak to write process. I've got about 11 writers on staff. And once we clarify the message of your book, which really is the number one thing we do with a client, is position you uniquely. Then we bring one of our writers to the table, Steve, and they interview you through conversation on Zoom, just like this. And they build an outline for your book, chapter by chapter, telling stories of how you help people. Once the outline's done, then we do a recording sessions where you're actually speaking your book, because our contention, Steve, is you're an expert at what you do, and you can talk about it all day long.
Sure.
So we just pull it out of you. Our writers then actually take your words and they massage your words into your book, because we don't add content, because we're not financial advisors.
Right.
You got everything you need. We just guide you through the process. So you create a book without writing a word by speaking to write your book, following our guidance. Yeah,
perfect. And so in your company, you actually take care of all those details. And again, I mean, I've told clients that for 20 years now is in every business that I've worked with, is if they're any good at all, and if they're not any good at all, they should be in a different business, right?
Absolutely.
But if they're any good at all, they're really good at explaining otherwise complicated details. They're really good at and many of them come from a sales background, so they're really good at saying it in a persuasive way. But then if you put somebody in front of, metaphorically a typewriter, but you sit them down on Microsoft Word on their PC,
right?
They draw a blank.
They really do. Yeah. And not only do they draw a blank, when you speak versus when you type, you're actually using different parts of your brain, so that it's going to come out differently. And because in financial advising, you're speaking so much to your client, you want to capture those phrases and words in your book so it actually sounds like you.
Yeah.
That's one of the benefits of our speak to write process.
Well, and it captures your personality.
Absolutely.
So, the worst thing you want them to do is read the book and then talk to you and go, oh my God, you know what? Whoever I'm talking to seems like they're from Mars compared to what I just went through.
Yeah. Jekyll and Hyde doesn't work, man.
Yeah. And I think I'm on like book 8 or something like that. I don't know how many it is, but anytime I have somebody editing a book for me, I've always got to say, no, you're taking the personality out.
Yes.
I know that sounded brusque. I know that sounded, in your face or whatever it might be, but that's exactly what I want it to be. Cause I want them to either be attracted to who I am or to be repelled. And if they go through a book or a video or a podcast or any of that other stuff, I think the biggest mistake, like you gave your Christian background extensively, advisors are afraid to do that even, right? They think, you shouldn't talk about politics, you shouldn't talk about religion. We started the conversation before I hit record talking about politics.
That's right.
And they think they shouldn't talk about politics, religion, what's the third, sex. Well,
sex,
maybe not skip that one a little bit, but really what you want to do is you want to be extremely attractive to people who are going to click with you, and you want to repel people who aren't going to click with you. And especially, if it were me, if with your background, I would be targeting people who share that belief, who share that target audience and everything else. And by the way, there are, I don't know if you did them or not, but there's several really good Christian-based financial advisor books out there, right? And I would never be afraid of doing that. In fact, I would double or triple down on whatever it is where people are going to click with you and you're going to click with them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the first things we talk about with a client, Steve, is we want to get their background. I've got 8 questions that I ask every one of my clients, and it gives me their background of how they grew up, their family size, what they do as hobbies and things. And 9 times out of 10, Steve, it's from that information that we connect their brand strategy and their crystal clear message, because that's what people are going to relate to. And here's what I tell people. People are going to buy you more than what you do. I've got to bond with you. And that's how we do it, is by sharing those stories. And then in the introduction or the first chapter, and we're talking about your background and how you came from, a divorced family, or you're an adopted kid, or what, that bonds people to you. And now we can have a conversation. Why wait until that first meeting to do the dance, to build common ground? No, let's get that done beforehand in the book, in your videos, so they know, like, and trust you before you ever meet with them.
Yeah. Or even worse is try to avoid it altogether. Right.
Oh, totally. Because then you end up being a coffee bean, is what I call it. You look like and sound like everybody else, and you're not giving me a compelling reason to step in and say, I like you. Let's talk. Yeah.
That's to me, that's the biggest problem with financial advisors. They all look alike. They all sound alike. They all talk alike. I remember a great book by Tom Peters years ago. Is he made the comment, most businesses are trying to position themselves as if they're no worse than anybody else.
That's like death.
Oh yeah, that's there's nothing at all attractive, and I've got a client who's into fly fishing, so his website has his fly fishing blog, and he could have the Fly Fisherman's Guide to Retiring Wealthy. I mean, any and all hooks that you can find that are going to be a perfect hire, great.
That's right.
Not to get too much into the technical weeds, but most people probably don't even get. How do you get it published? Is it going to be in the bookstore? Are people going to buy it? I mean, I know the answer to that, but give a little bit about the back of that background, how that works and how you handle that.
Yeah. So we take care of everything. Okay. Start to finish. Your book's going to be on Amazon, and we guarantee to make you an Amazon best-selling author for credibility purposes. It's going to be on Kindle. You're going to have an electronic PDF to put on your website for free downloads and to email people. And you buy physical copies to hand out to people from us. Those are $5 each on demand.
Yeah.
So you think about this, we take care of everything. If you can show up on a few calls and talk to one of my writers, you're going to get your book created in a short period of time in the simplest way possible, because you're just talking, and you're going to have a lifetime of credibility, because you know this, Steve, as well as I do. Books have shelf life. It's sacrilegious in our culture to throw a book away. So when you hand it to somebody, they're going to keep it. They're going to move it from house to house to house. And hopefully they'll start giving other copies away to other people. But yeah, we do everything for our clients.
That's so true. This house that I'm sitting in, I moved in before my son was born, who is coming up on getting his learner's permit. He's going to be 15 in a couple of months. And I have 20 boxes of books still sitting in the storage room that I never got around to unpacking. And had this best of intentions of building a library off my office here. I never have gotten around to it, but that is so true. The way I tell clients too is I have books on my desk that are the coaster, right?
Totally.
I may not get around to responding to you now, but I may have a need and look on my desk and say, oh, wait a minute, what was that book? And respond years later. And it's also why I like, from a direct marketing standpoint, direct mail over, things like email is,
absolutely.
An email, they're likely not even going to read it, and direct mail, they oftentimes put it on the magnet on the refrigerator. So
that's right.
It stays around forever. The other thing is, of course, just because you're on Amazon and you're an Amazon bestseller, the point of the book is not ever to make any money from the book directly. And talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I tell clients straight up, you are not going to get rich selling your book on Amazon, right? It's just that Amazon's the place to go. When somebody hears you've got a book, that's where they're going to find out, are you there? Yeah. Okay, great. If they buy it on Amazon, yippee skippy, you earned $8. That is not what you want. No. I tell clients to say, hey, get a free copy of my Amazon best-selling book on Amazon, or get a free copy here. And then you click, goes to your website. Now you capture their information, get them on your list, your number one asset in business, right? So you're on Amazon for credibility, but your book's also on your email. It's on your LinkedIn profile. It's on your Facebook. It's on your website. It's everywhere, because one of my formulas for marketing, Steve, is consistency over time.
Yeah.
And if you can show up consistently, everybody's going to understand that A, you're an author, and B, inside that book should have your process or your unique way of doing things. Yeah. Guess what? You've just simplified your marketing message. And if you've got a book with 12 chapters, wow, now you've got 12 podcast interviews, 12 videos, 12 blogs. It just parlays what you're doing. But yeah, you don't make money on Amazon. You make money by gaining clients, number one. And number two, scripting those clients so they will take 3 to 5 copies of your book with them and hand them out to their friends, neighbors, relatives, business associates who will read your book and go, because you know what? Birds of a feather do flock together. Your best clients have friends just like them.
Oh, yeah.
Equip them with your book. Now, which is better, Steve? Will you take the business card of my financial advisor, please?
Yep.
Or my guy wrote the book on fly fishing till, retirement.
Yeah.
Okay. It's so much better for your prospect, your client, to hand out your book and go, my guy wrote. You talk about money, and I know you're a big proponent of referrals and back-end marketing. And clients. And there's just not a better way to do it than to hand your book there. Client book signings, wine and cheese events. So many ways to do it.
Let's unpack that. So let's start with the sales process.
Mm-hmm.
Is in the sales process, just as you gave the example in the marketing situation earlier, is positioning yourself as an expert and having the first meeting with them be one where they already have you on the pedestal. Mm-hmm. They perceive you as an expert and they're open to the message. And nothing works better than that. If before the first meeting, they're always getting the book, they're always getting, some people call it a shock and awe package, whatever it might be. But the book is the ultimate credibility tool within that. And so that's one category is as a tool to facilitate the sale, to position you as an expert ahead of time, and to make sure that, they're coming to you oftentimes with many of their questions already answered.
That's right.
And other times with, in chapter 3 and chapter 4, and they have a Post-it note. Now, between you and I always expect that nobody that I give one before a sales conference is going to read it, but they're going to view me as an expert nonetheless, because they got the book on the subject.
Absolutely.
And then the second thing that was packed in there, and we went through it a little bit quickly, is one of the best referral strategy is pass along tools.
Yep.
Different things that a client is willing to gift their friends, mm-hmm. that facilitates that person coming back to you. the best possible pass along to it. Now, and it can be a lot of things. You said several things in there. It could be a live training session. Sure. It could be a wine and cheese meeting. It could be a client appreciation meeting. Those are all events, whether they're online or offline, where a client can feel comfortable bringing their friends for an educational event or a social event. But the best thing is to have a report. And you said in there, 12-chapter book is also 12 freestanding reports, right?
Absolutely.
It's 12 or 24 blog posts.
Yep.
The book I did recently, I don't know if I sent it to you yet or not, but let me see. This one, the marketing book.
Yeah.
Did I send that to you, or did I?
You have not.
Hey,
we'll have to do that afterwards. Yeah.
I will send that one to you, because of course they need a glowing testimonial from you, among other things. Right. But my process on that one, which I was doing a live client meeting at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis. And while I was there, we booked the conference room for an extra day, and I have a video guy who was going to be there anyway. So he came in and videotaped the whole thing, and we separated out into 15 segments and did between 30 and 50 minutes on each segment. And it was how to do your website, how to do online marketing, Facebook, social media marketing, niche marketing, how to find the proper niche. We had 15 segments lined up and videotape 15 segments. Well, now I have a program, and of course there's more to it than just that, but I have a program of how to market your financial practice, extraordinary marketing for financial advisors. And it's 15 DVDs, it's 15 videos online, it's CDs, one thing or another, it's the transcripts, but then all of it got transcribed, and then all of it went to a professional writer. Absolutely. And the writer turned every chapter into or every segment into a chapter. Yeah. Now, in my case, I made the mistake of not hiring your guys, so I had to go, and he's a really good guy. I've worked with him a bunch of times, but he's British, so there was a lot of slang that I had to kind of change a little bit, one thing or another. So I went back and rewrote it, and then that became this book, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's more or less your process. But go back to the pass along tools thing. They can talk through the writing of the book. You now have recordings. You have Zoom recordings of those sections. They could be used however they want. The transcripts of those can be used however they want. Right. Then you have the chapters that your author has written for them. That's now search engine optimized blog posts, because they're going to be talking about topics that are appropriate. And again, now you have, every month I could send each of my clients 5 or 10 of the chapters stapled or bound, and then I can send every one of my clients 5 of the book. The other thing, by the way, we're going to do with this book, since it's it's pretty voluminous, is it's going to become 12 books, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to now become a freestanding book on how to use LinkedIn for financial advisors, how to use Facebook for financial advisors, how to do search marketing for financial advisors, how to do live event marketing for financial advisors. And, we could go on and on and on with the application. But to me, the credibility build plus the marketing tool, the third element that you just touched on briefly is, as what would be the I just use the word bait, but as bait for your marketing, right? So, there's no better bait on a Facebook ad or a LinkedIn ad is get a free copy of my book. Absolutely. Sometimes that's a free copy of the book. It's a PDF. Sometimes it's a free copy of the book and you're mailing it to them.
So let me jump on that real quick, because a lot of people, I come at marketing a different way, right? I'm trying to get you on my list, and I'm trying to win your heart. I'm really convinced that we make decisions emotionally and we back them up with logic.
You bet.
So my statement is, in order to, what you want to do is you want to capture the heart to convince the mind. So you put your book on your website, you're out doing Facebook ads or LinkedIn or whatever, and you say, hey, get a free copy of my new Amazon bestselling book, click here. They go there. One thing they want you to do, all right, on that landing page, email only. Get my email, hit submit. Thank you page comes up. Video. Thank you so much for downloading requesting a copy of my book. It's going to be in your inbox here in just a couple of minutes. But if you like, I would love to send you a physical copy of it in the mail. Just tell me where to send it. Doesn't cost you a penny. Be happy to put it in. You'll have it in 2 days. That way you can dog ear, highlight it, spend some time with it, and see how I could really help you build your financial future. Just tell me where to mail it. It'll be in your hands pretty soon. What we found when we've done that with our clients is 50% of the people who opt in for the ebook give me the rest of their mailing information.
Yeah.
And I know you well enough that you love direct mail as much as I do.
Oh, absolutely.
So guess what? Now it's an experience because I'm going to send what I call that welcome and wow kit with my book, but I'm also going to actually mail them a handwritten thank you. I've got a whole process around this, by the way.
Sure.
Right? I actually send food gifts to my prospects, thanking them for requesting. When they book an appointment, they get something else. After the appointment, they get so much stuff from me. Now, you didn't mention it, but I'm sure it's in there somewhere. There's all these chapters in your book, monthly print newsletter.
Right.
All of your prospects, clients, centers of influence, using the content you've already created.
You bet.
You don't have to rethink this, right? When you're, and that's what we teach our clients is how do you do what Steve just did? Create content once and find 1,000 ways to use it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, and we haven't even skimmed the surface. Podcast, it can become the YouTube channel, podcast segments, on and on and on and on and on. What I see, and of course, there's so many. I in having worked in the past with martial arts schools and a couple of other niches, I always assumed that nobody could be worse than they are at marketing their services. And then I started working with financial advisors and was proven wrong. I was talking recently to Dan Kennedy, and he said in a different way than I had thought of. Is he said they're focused on advertising, they're focused on sales, they're not focused on marketing. Marketing in his context, there was all the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is getting them on the list, sending them the book, sending them the gift, doing the follow-up, the newsletter, all of those type of things. And I think it's even worse is most of these guys just know, they do brute sales. The industry turns over about 95% of new people that don't make it. And they're just begging their clients for referrals. But there's so many, even from a referral standpoint, and we all love referrals. There's so many different ways to get your existing happy clients to send you additional clients. And most of it is about not trying to make them into a salesperson, but making it easy for them to facilitate it. Right. So, yeah. So but again, those pass along tools, sharing your book, all of that stuff is just an absolute natural.
Well, the other thing about financial advisors, and I love financial advisors, I've been working with them for 11 years. Unfortunately, many times they are looking for marketing help from their FMO or their IMO.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that is not the best place to go for marketing help. You need somebody like Steve.
That's an understatement.
Oh, I'm telling you. So you've got to stake your claim, figure out what's unique about you, your fly fishing guide. That is brilliant. That is, and everybody has something in their background, in their story, in their process. Everybody does, right?
Oh, yeah.
I talk to advisors all the time. I say, okay, love him or hate him, Dave Ramsey is a really good marketer.
You bet.
Right? Sue Zorman is a great marketer. I don't know if she's good financial advising, but if she opened up shop down the street from you, she's going to kick your tail. Because she's a great marketer. How does she market? Welcome and wow kits, books, videos, podcast, right? That's what we need to be doing, telling a story, niche marketing. That's what we help our clients do. I know that's what you do too.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what moves the needle. Wow.
That's exactly right. So for those who, and I'll go back to that previous example, for guys who've already got a book, who have screwed it up, and be more polite about it, is they just didn't have a sense of what to do with it once they had it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, give them a little bit more marketing advice there. We've touched on a lot, but
so we take guys like that and gals like that, and we've got an ongoing marketing program for authors who don't know what to do with their book, right? So we teach them of what to do, ways to use your book in your market. So let's talk. You've got a book, 12 chapters. How about doing what we call micro trainings? They're like 25-minute short webinars, one topic, really educational. And the call to action is like, if that's helpful, book a 15-minute call. Let's dive into your specific situation. You've got all this book. You can do a webinar or a micro training every week, every 2 weeks, and you're breathing life into your database that already knows you, or you're doing it for new people. Usually it's your database, right?
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is people are going to raise their hand. Number one. Number two, start talking about what's going on in the world. What are people thinking about right now in terms of finances? Inflation, right? Taxes. It's tax time in America. Taxes. Do micro trainings and things around that. Relate it to your book. Have them book a small call, right? Those are just two. Make sure your book is prominent on your LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go to my LinkedIn, right underneath my name. It's like #1 Amazon best-selling author. Create your book without writing a word.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you really fast what I do and who I am.
Oh, you bet.
Don't lead with all of your designations and all that junk.
Yeah.
Be different, be unique. So the other thing, Steve, in marketing, when you get a lead, when you get somebody booked on your calendar, okay, usually it's a week out typically, right? What are you doing between those, the time they book and the time they show up? And if you're just relying on Calendly, you're missing the boat.
Oh, absolutely.
We use Calendly, but in our Calendlys, we're putting links to videos to answer the 5 most common questions we get on these calls, right? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to disqualify and I'm trying to precondition. Because when they go to book a call with me, it's a landing page, Steve, has a 13-minute video.
Yeah.
Because it talks about my process. It's got 2 client testimonials. People show up on my calls going, hey, man, I've watched your videos. Those are really good. You've answered a lot of my questions here. We just dive right in, and in 25 minutes, we're ready to go. That's all marketing.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we teach our clients to do. So if you've already got a book, we can help you monetize that thing. That's no problem.
Yeah. And, there's so much buried in there it's something I've been teaching everybody I work with for years now is there's no reason that you're not dripping on them with email, with links back to educational materials, with text messages, with links back to testimonials, video content whatsoever. And we're always mailing to them immediately, even if the appointment was in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So what? They showed up and they haven't gotten it yet. However, we know an awful lot of appointments end up rescheduling once or twice. So that's fine too. Right. And so we'll always kick off a pre-appointment drip system by email, text, sometimes voicemail, but certainly by direct mail. And it's all about educating them once they once they get in the pipeline. But as you said, it's about getting them to show up.
Yeah.
Show up pre-sold. Oftentimes they're showing up and their only question is, well, how much, because I need to get going on this, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I'm a big fan, especially in the financial advising world, right? Usually it's a 2 or 3 appointment process before they actually become clients.
Sure.
So let's go to the first appointment. Let's say they've already gotten your book. They're kind of, you meet with them, good meeting, they leave. What do you do? So here's my system. Okay. I'll just give it away.
Yeah.
Number 1, I use Loom, Loom. Some people use BombBomb. Don't care what you use. I shoot a Loom video specifically to you and say, hey, Steve, thanks so much for that meeting. It was really good. Love getting to know you. And I can't wait to take that next step and really start formulating that plan. Look forward to talking with you, next week at 3. Boom. Email that out. So it's a personal one. You could also use a video text if you wanted to, because video text has like 100% open rate.
Oh, yeah.
So no, that's number 1. Number 2, I turn around to my desk and I write a handwritten thank you that goes in the mail with a stamp, right?
Right.
And then number 3, I go into my CRM system, go to their record, and I click a button, and it's the post first meeting gift. And I use a company called Gift Hopper, and we've got it all set up. They get an email, say, please send this gift to Stephen Oliver. Here's his address. They already know what the note says. So it comes in a box, Steve, like direct mail. Okay. Comes in that. If you get that, are you going to open it? You are.
You bet. Right? You bet.
You open that. It's got a nice little card that's already pre-written with my logo. It says, hey, Steve, just so you know, we're nuts about working with people like you. One of my favorite childhood memories is my dad bringing cashews home from the mall. I hope you can make a memorable moment with someone you love, Michael. Then you dig down in through this stuff and, you pull out a nice bag of cashews, right?
Yep.
I'm doing this to do what? To win their heart and to let them know nobody else does this.
Yep.
So they've gotten between the first appointment and that second appointment a Loom video, a handwritten thank you, a gift in the mail. Do you think they're liking me? Yes.
Yeah.
They're
We
coming back.
we were actually sending chocolates, and then figured out that in Florida and Texas in the summer they were melting.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we shifted it to caramel popcorn. So
Yes.
they get 3 bags of caramel popcorn in a box with a personal note on the top.
Absolutely.
But it's
and you mentioned it without saying this word, but systems.
Yep.
Right. We are big on building systems. We give our clients systems, these marketing systems, and put them in place. So with a click of a button, this whole thing takes off. So the advisor can be focusing on meeting with people.
Yeah.
That's where your money's made, right?
Yeah.
And I know you're a big proponent of that, and so are we. And that's really what I find limits a lot of financial advisors, is that they're not systems oriented. And they don't understand marketing. That's why we get to do what we do.
Yeah. And again, something like what you just talked about, they think that they've got to have a staff of 10 people to do that. But, we do the same thing. It's automatically clicked off in the CRM system, and it shows up personalized, and, it's a personalized handwritten looking note, and it's a gift, and then another gift. And then we send them the big box of stuff. Yeah. But all of that happens automatically. My only involvement is to check off and make sure that it's, nothing's broken in the system.
That's right.
Periodically.
Yeah, without question. You build the system once, you might tweak it along the way, but you get it up and going. And yeah, my whole system, I spend about 15 minutes a year with that whole system, just tweaking gifts and making sure, and that's in December for the next year.
Yeah.
Works like magic. And brother, when I send these gifts out, I get clients and prospects texting me thank yous, emailing me gifts, emailing me pictures of their gift on their dining room table. Mm-hmm. It's some of the best marketing we do. And it really is it's part of my thank you system.
Yeah.
Because in our culture, Steve, unfortunately, people don't say thank you.
No. And if they do, it's an automated email.
Yeah. Yeah. Forgive me. Or it's a send out card that looks like a send out card. I got one of those last week. I'm like, okay, thank you. But it just looked corporate and stale. If I love send out cards, the way they're just make it personal as much as you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's hard to underestimate the value of physical versus digital. The personalization that you're talking about is perfect for text message. I'm amazed at how many people still they think that their only solution is email, and then everything they're doing is looks like corporate, and it's to the extent it's personalized, maybe the prospect's name got mail merged in there, but there's not. I mean, it's like, come on, there was a company here in Colorado, Blue Mountain Cards, and in fact, I think it's our governor at the time was a founder in the .com boom before he got wealthy from it. But you may remember the company. They'd email you a link, and here's open it up, and here's a flash birthday card. Right. Well, I don't think they're even around anymore, because it was a novelty for a year or two. But nobody gets a warm and fuzzy because you get an automated anything. That's right. And when somebody opens an email anymore, they're more likely to be annoyed than they are excited, because I've got to go through 200 of them. And especially in the corporate world, people are like 200 emails a day. I tell our clients, you get 4 pieces of mail a day on average, and you get 200 emails a day. And you're still kind of looking forward to what's in the mail. Maybe there's something interesting, a note from grandma.
Totally.
But not your email box.
So 2 things on that. All right. So I just did this today to 3 people. I know 3 people whose birthdays today. So on birthday, Steve, what I do is I pick up my phone. You can do this with clients too, because you should have their birthdays and anniversaries. Yeah. Get ready to text them, but then turn on the camera, turn it forward facing, and say, hey, Steve, happy birthday. I hope you have a great day celebrating this day. Do something fun and memorable. No, I appreciate you. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Done. Send. You're going to get so much. How long does that take? How long does that take? Okay. Nothing. Number 1. So using your phone technology for texting, not just reminder emails and all that, but personal stuff, right? And number 2, going back to direct mail and print and everything, for financial advisors, most financial advisors who are dealing with like retirement and things, your target audience grew up with newspapers and magazines primarily. They trust print. That's why you should be doing a print book, a print newsletter, a print magazine. They trust it inherently. So you got to look at your target audience, who they are, and how did they grow up, and meet them there. Not that you don't do email, but you augment it with what I call combined media, online and offline.
Clearly, if you're targeting 50 to 60-year-olds, they're gonna put much more credibility. And frankly, my daughter's graduating from college. She doesn't use email. Right. My son doesn't use email. They use text, but you can't get that. The only way they'll use email is if it's their school email address, right, and they're getting an update on assignments or something. Other than that, my daughter actually copied me. I'll take great pride in that. As her voicemail on her phone says, "Why don't you text me? Why are you calling me? Don't leave a message."
I love it.
But that is the direction. Hey, Michael, God, the time is going crazy here. Before we go, how does somebody get hold of you if they're interested in your company doing a book, or just figuring out how to promote their existing material? Yeah,
website's the best place, paperbackexpert.com. That's all things Michael. Everything you need to know about me is at paperbackexpert.com.
Fantastic. I bet they can get a copy of your book there too.
Absolutely.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, sir. I'm going to kill the recording, and I apologize that I booked myself so tight today.
You're good, man. I appreciate the opportunity. I want to